it's also tainted by malevolence, because no matter how things are tragic and difficult, but there's always some stupid thing that you could do or someone else could do that could make it even worse than it has to be. So that's life. And you need an antidote to that, because that can embitter you. Constant contact with that. Just the tragedy, but the tragedy combined with betrayal and malevolence, that makes it even worse, especially if it's self-induced. Okay, so you need something to set against that so you don't get bitter and resentful. Well, what do you set against that? Doing something worthwhile. By your own definition, say, you need some reason to get the hell out of bed on a terrible day because you've got something good to do. Well, what's the best thing you can do? Transcend your current wretched and miserable self. There's meaning to be found in that, and that's a meaning that's associated with responsibility. One of the things that I've been trying to lay out clearly is that life is hard. It's tainted by... Okay, so you need something to set against that so you don't get bitter and resentful to offset that. Where's the meaning to be found? Not in rights, not in impulsive pleasure, but in responsibility. You take responsibility for yourself, so you take care of yourself. If you're good at it, you have some excess left over to take care of your damn family. If you're good at both of those, then you have some excess left over to take care of your community. Those are heavy burdens. You pick up the burdens and find that's meaningful. The best way to pick up the burden is to continually improve yourself, and that's where the meaning is to be found. And so that meaning is in the continual self-transcendence. That's letting your old self die and the new self be reborn. Even if things are going really well for you now, there's going to be a time in the future where things are rough. You know, you're going to be ill, family member's going to be ill, a dream is going to fall apart, you're going to be uncertain about your employment status, like the flood is coming, right? The apocalypse is coming. It's always the case in life. And you have to be prepared for it, and the question is how to prepare for it. And the answer to that is to find a way of being that works even under the direst of circumstances. You've got the possibility to slowly raise yourself out of the mire. You've got the possibility to do just what the fighter does when he's defeated, which is to say, well, regardless of the circumstances that might have led to my defeat, like even if there were errors on the part of the referee, this is no time to whine about it. This is a time to take stock of what I did wrong so that I can improve it into the future. And that's the right attitude. The point is, your best strategic position is, how am I insufficient and how can I rectify that? That's what you've got. And the thing is, you are insufficient. And you could rectify it. Both of those are within your grasp. If you aim low enough. And I don't mean don't aim. And I don't mean don't aim up. But you have to accept the fact that you can set yourself a goal that you can attain. And there's not going to be much glory in it to begin with. Because if you're not in very good shape, the goal that you could attain tomorrow isn't very glorious. But it's a hell of a lot better than nothing, and it beats the hell out of bitterness, and it's way better than blaming someone else. It's way less dangerous. And you could do it. And what's cool about it, it's one step on a very long journey. And it starts to compound on you. So a small step today puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day, and then that puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And you do that for 2 or 3 years, man, you're starting to stride. I don't know how many people have come and told me, it's so strange. They said, well, I started making my bed and that made all the difference. It's like, well, yeah, you decided to aim up, man. And the first concrete instantiation of that was that you made your bed. You think, well, that's nothing heroic. It's like, no, but aiming up is heroic. That's something. And then lowering yourself to the point where you're not above the mess in your room. You know, you're not superordinate to that. You lower yourself so that you straighten up. You're grateful for what you have right in front of you, and you take care of it and you put it in order. It's like all of a sudden things start to get better. And one of the reasons that audiences are responding to what I've been saying in my lectures and what I've been writing about is that I don't tell people that they're okay the way they are. No, I say, no, you could be way more than you are. And they're relieved about that, you see, because if you're in a dark and terrible place and someone says you're okay the way you are, then you don't know what to do about that. It's right. Like, no, I'm not. I'm having a terrible time and I'm hopeless. You're okay the way you are. Well, then what? What? That's it? That's where I am? And what do you want to tell a young person? You're 17. You're okay the way you are. It's like, no, you're not. You got 60 years to be better. And you could be way better. You could be incomparably better across multiple dimensions. And in pursuing that better, that's where you'll find the meaning in your life. And that will give you the antidote to the suffering. This is the trick, though. You have to pick a path of discipline. What path of discipline you have to pick is a different issue. So there could be a rule. The rule could be, The rule might not be follow this rule. The rule might be you have to follow some rules. So it's a meta rule. And the meta rule is you have to discipline yourself. And the issue is, well, how? That's not really the relevant question. You can pick a disciplinary path. That's why I often tell my clients, especially young people, they say, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, that's okay. Nobody does. Go do something. Do the best thing that you can think of. Put the best plan you have into practice. It's not going to be perfect, and it will change along the way. But it will change partly because you become disciplined pursuing the path. And as you become disciplined, you become wiser. And as you become wiser, you become able to formulate better and better plans. So you can start vaguely and confused and develop a plan that's not so great, and you start to implement it. And then you accrue incremental wisdom as you implement your flawed plan. And that enables you to fix the plan. And so that's part of that process of incremental self-improvement as well. Imagine you only have $100,000 to go buy a house. And so you go look at this house, and it's like, Jesus, this house, man, it's like it needs a lot of work. It's like, well, that's all you've got. Well, are you going to pretend that the house is okay the way it is? Or are you going to look for where it's rotten and where the plumbing doesn't work and where the stove doesn't work? You have to go and look and see where everything needs to be fixed. And that is harsh, man. And then in order to do that properly, someone has to have taught you, it's, look, you aren't your problems. You're most fundamentally that which, if it confronts its problems, can solve them. And that's the hero myth in a nutshell, by the way. The hero is the person who confronts horrible, chaotic potential and tames it and makes something of it, right? That's the fundamental human story. But the problem is that you have to face what you don't want to face in order to fix it. So you look at all the things about yourself that need to be burned off, that need to be dispensed with. And that, man, especially at the beginning, especially if you're screwed up, that may be like 95% of you. It's not pleasant. But if you know that you're the thing that can transcend your problems, most fundamentally, if you know you're the thing that, if it faces the problems, can transcend them, then you have the faith that would enable you to take stock of who you are. My daughter was very ill when she was a kid, but particularly when she was a teenager. She had a very terrible time of it. She had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and she was between the ages of 14 and 16. It first destroyed her hip, which had to be replaced, and then it destroyed the ankle on her other leg, which had to be replaced. And she walked around for 2 years on broken legs, and she was taking massive doses of opiates and could hardly stay awake. And and as a test of your faith, there's almost nothing that's more direct than a serious illness inflicted upon an innocent child, right? And so the chapter's a meditation on that, and also on, well, what to do in a situation like that, because everyone is going to have a situation like that in some sense, because you'll be faced with illness in the people that you love and in crisis. And so it's a practical guide to coping with those sorts of things. Like, and one of the things you do when you're overwhelmed by crisis is you shorten your time frame. It's like you can't think about next month. Maybe you can't even bloody well think about next week, or maybe not even tomorrow. Because now is just so overwhelming that that's all there is. It's like, and that's what you do. You cut your time frame back until you can cope with it. And if it's not the next week that you see how to get through, then it's the next day. And if it's not the next day, then it's the next hour. And if it's not the next hour, then it's the next minute. And people are very, 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 very tough. And it turns out that if you face things, that you can put up with a lot more than you think you can put up with, and you can do it without becoming corrupted. You have to be alert when you're suffering. You have to be alert to the beauty in life, the unexpected beauty in life. And, you have to look for that little bit of sparkling crystal in the darkness when things are bad. You have to look and see where things are still beautiful and where there's still something that's sustaining. You narrow your time frame and you be grateful for what you have, and that can get you through some very dark times. And maybe even successfully if you're lucky, but even if unsuccessfully, then maybe it's only tragic and not absolute hell. And you can do that, in the worst situation, you can make it only tragic and not hell. And there's a big gap between tragedy and hell. There's nothing worse at a deathbed than to see the people there fighting. The death is bad enough, but you can take that, as terrible as it is, and make it into something that's absolutely unbearable. And maybe I think, and this is sort of what I closed the book with, is this idea is that if we didn't all attempt to make terrible things even worse than they are, then maybe we could tolerate terrible things that we have to put up with in order to exist. And maybe we could make the world into a better place.
It's a constant storm to try to figure out what you're about, and you change. At 26, you're all about the hustle, you're going to be a billionaire, this and that, and then you go to the bar one night and you fall in love. And it changes what you care about, right? And then you have a child, and then this happens, and then that happens. Things change. You just have to always consistently try to figure out what's driving you, and not because other people are watching, and not because that's what your dad wants, and not because that's what you said was going to happen, and it doesn't look like it, and your family's going to judge you. You just have to be as real with yourself as possible, and that is a very difficult struggle, but when you're not, you create enormous vulnerability and unhappiness.
Truthful conversations redeem people. Because if you come to a clinical psychologist whose worth is salt, you have a truthful conversation. The conversation is, well, here's what's wrong with my life, and here's what caused it. You know, maybe it takes a year to have that conversation, and here's how it might be fixed. Here's what a beneficial future might look like. And so it's a completely honest conversation if it's working well. And all that's happening in the conversation is that the two people involved are trying to make things better. That's the goal. Let's see if we can have a conversation that will make things better.
I think one of the factors in the resistance to these ideas of discipline and of taking responsibility for yourself is people recognizing that they're not doing that in their own lives, and they get upset, and instead of looking internally, they try to attack the thing that's upsetting them. They attack your message. They attack the philosophy behind it, rather than look internally and objectively and having some sort of introspective point of view where you go, okay, am I reacting to this because this resonates? Like I'm missing this aspect of my life? Does this diminish me? Or is this guy pointing something out that I can benefit from? Very few people are willing to do that. Very few people are willing to take that critical moment to look at their own behavior and look at their own thought process and wonder if the actual adverse reaction they have to this person's message is because they know that they're wrong.
Start the process of becoming much more honest with yourself. It will help you make much better decisions, and it will help you in the long run. It may not taste as fun or as glamorous in the short term, but it will put you in a much better position.
Stop doing the things that you know are wrong that you could stop doing. Right? So it's a fairly limited attempt. First of all, we're not going to say that you know what the good is or what the truth is in any ultimate sense. But we will presume that there are things that you're doing that for one reason or another you know are not in your best interests. There's something about them that you just know you should stop. They're kind of self-evident to you. Other things you're going to be doubtful about. You're not going to know which way is up and which way is down. But there are things that you're doing that you know you shouldn't do. Now, some of those you won't stop doing for whatever reason. You don't have the discipline, or maybe there's a secondary payoff, or you don't believe it's necessary, or it's too much of a sacrifice, or you're angry or resentful or afraid. Who knows? But there's another subset that you could stop doing. It might be a little thing. Well, that's fine. Stop doing it and see what happens. And what will happen is your vision will clear a little bit. And then something else will pop up that you will also know you should stop doing and that you could stop doing. And you could do that repeatedly for an indefinite period of time. And you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to ever be able to formulate a clear and final picture of what constitutes the truth and the good. But it does mean that you'll be able to continually move away from what's untruth and what's bad. And, you know, that's not a bad start.
Discipline, it does start with waking up. It really does. But that is just the beginning. Discipline is the root of all good qualities. But you have to absolutely apply it to things. outside of just waking up early. It's everything. It's working out every day, making yourself stronger and faster and more flexible and healthier. It's about disciplining your emotions so you can make good decisions. It's about doing the tasks that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you know will help you. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right.
I wonder if someone would have whispered, "Call me," when he got in the car today. 6 more days. How would that week maybe have been different for him?
I can appreciate a good-looking guy, and I can appreciate a good-looking woman. And some of these folks that I have as students, they literally have nothing wrong with them physically. They look, by all standards, they are attractive. They're successful people, they're doing well in their careers, and they're doing well in trading. But they're being plagued by not being balanced by having a significant other. And then because of that loneliness, they go into the marketplace and they push the button to do what? To feel good. They're allowing their personal life to manifest itself in trading. You cannot look for a feel-good experience in trading. If you treat it like a massage parlor and looking for a happy ending, don't be surprised if you end up with STD. It's as simple as that. You can't do those types of things. These markets will literally take you out. They'll make you second guess everything, remove all sound logic, and you'll lose control. Like a drunken, promiscuous affair on a weekend that your spouse doesn't know about. You'll be in there doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. So why invite it? Why live your life like that to allow manifestations of those types of things in your trading? Folks, this is your business. This isn't a game, this isn't a hobby. If it is, you're doing it fucking wrong. You're doing it wrong unless this is your business and you're minding your fucking business. You're gonna fail because you are competing against yourself. And if you haven't removed all the toxic things in your life and found coping skills to allow yourself to be fruitful, balanced, productive, disciplined, do this, don't do that. If you can't do those things in your personal life, you sure as hell ain't going to do it in trading. Who's managing you? Who's your boss? Who's going to reprimand you for losing money? I am honest about where my limitations are, and I have no bones about saying this is where my weakness is. My weakness in my trading is always my exits. I'm never satisfied with them. Does that make me poor of a trader? No. It means I'm honest. It means that I do have weaknesses. I just don't know how to make them better than they are. And when you have frailties, you have to embrace them. Don't try to hide from them. Because the fact that you're trying to hide from them is the same thing that causes everyone to have drawdown, blown accounts, because you're trying to do what? You're trying to avoid that losing trade. That one singular event where it's now taken something from you. You're trying to avoid that. And the fact you're trying to avoid that singular transaction turns into a series and chain of them when your account's blown. Because you've ramped up your emotional and psychological impact. You've done that to yourself. That singular trade that was a losing trade, you made it now more significant. That trade cheated on you. That trade went outside of the relationships and the boundaries you set for it. And now you feel betrayed. So what do you want to do? You want revenge. You want to go find that motherfucker that cheated on you And you go out there and you go into the marketplace looking for them. And you don't find them. You find somebody else. And they take again from you. And they take again and again and again. And you're hurt more each time. And it revs up that emotional and psychological impact. And you want it to go away. You want to feel victory. You want to feel like you've done the right thing. Because if you win, you've done the right thing. In your mind, that's what you're going to tell yourself. If you get the money back, you've done the right thing. You didn't learn anything from that. When you should have said, stop it. This hurt me. I'm going to take a step back and heal. I'm not going to be in a rush to get into a new relationship, a new trade. But it's not comfortable waiting around for Mr. Right or Miss Right. Hardships, you're going to have issues where, you're going to feel like you got it figured out. You'll have a week or two, maybe even a month, where you just did everything right. And this is where you get in trouble, young men. You think that you got it all figured out, and then you have a losing trade. And it might not even be a significant loss. It might be something so small, 0.5% or whatever. You saved the stop from getting hit full on. Like you had a 1% risk or 2% risk, and you saved it from getting knocked out, but still it's a loss. Now, you're not looking at the fact that you were able to mitigate the total 1 or 2% hit to your account because you protected the stop loss. You saw it was going to turn on you. You closed it before it went to your stop. That's commendable. That's a skill set, not to promote the idea of paranoia, but if you're beginning to trade live funds, if you do that initially and you are aggressive about cutting your losses, that alone would probably keep you alive long enough to find a way to grind through the adversity. Because when you get a real good winning trade, it doesn't wait around. It just takes off. It just runs. But the problem with this business is you want to second guess yourself so much because you're trying to avoid losing. This is the number one characteristic of a losing trader. You're willing to hold on to a losing or questionable trade. Come hell or high water, you'll hold that. It isn't moving like you want it to, but damn it, you're not letting go of it. Because what happens if you close it and it runs in your favor? What happens if you're fucking wrong and you just held on to it too long? That's what usually happens. See, if your trade is right, it's going to show you right away. Well, the perception of others about them. That's what they're trying to have new equity highs in that. And that's the problem. When you go out and you start challenging people, especially people that have been doing it a long time, and you can't bring those results, that will rattle you, especially if you're a male. A male takes that personal. Again, it's like you're saying that they aren't that large downstairs. That's how they'll take it. That's what it feels like for a man in trading. If they are sizing up with someone else or someone else is calling them or tapping them on the shoulder, that feeling of, I got to live up to that. Because what if everyone else thinks that I can't do this and can't do that? And then what they do is they start doing things that they can't really do. And they are regretting it. My FX books, announcing they're going to do funded challenges, all that kind of stuff. Don't do those things. If you don't do those things, I guarantee you your results will be phenomenal. Because you're placing no image in the results. You have no expectations held of yourself. You're not saying, I have to hit 20%. I got to do 10% a week. I got to do 100% in a month and a half or 2 months. All those types of goals are stupid. If you haven't been trading for at least 3 years and you're trying to do stuff like that, you're really making it more difficult than it needs to be. Versus, what happens if you just try to make 2% a week? Would you be happy if you had a funded account with, I don't know, $100,000 and you tripled it over the course of a year? I mean, how many of you would be like, fuck you, I don't want $200,000. You're crazy. $200,000? What the hell would I want to have $200,000 for? That's insulting, ICT. Why would you even ask me that? That's what some of you are basically saying without saying those words. Because you want to double your account every month. What would $200,000 a year do for someone like yourself? Would it change your comfort? Would it make things a little bit easier? How about get yourself out of debt? Well, you don't have to work very hard to get that kind of result. It's very small little micro moves that you have to do, but when you make them for the week, you have to stop. Don't place any more Olympic feats on top of you. Don't try to live up to everyone's expectations of, hey, you know, you're an ICT student, so you should be out there killing it like ICT style. No. No. One good trade a week. Do it and be done. It's about making money. It's about making money, folks, okay? It doesn't matter how many little hearts you get behind your Twitter posts or how many fanfare you get from all these other, I don't even know how Instagram works. Whatever that stuff is that would fluff a person up. Those things don't matter. Making fucking money does. Paying your bills does. Being able to eat. Taking care of your family. Paying your mortgage off. How about getting a house without a mortgage? Paying your car note off so that way you don't have to make any payments. New set of duds. Clothes. Doing something for someone that wouldn't expect it. Those types of things. That right there, that is a real coping skills, going through the processes that I've taught in great detail on my YouTube channel. But the problem is, you're one of those individuals that want ICT to get right to the point. The point is, you don't listen. That's the point. The point is, you don't fucking listen. You're not trying to get good advice, and you just want to do it your way. You want Burger King fucking mentorship, okay? Have it your way. Well, have it your way mentorships don't make millionaires. That's the way that works, okay? It creates emotionally charged traders that hold on to losing trades too long, and then when they fail and blow up in your face, that creates that loser cycle where you want to try to get it back right away. You know what that means? You're going to lose more fucking money. And it just keeps repeating and repeating, and then finally you blow your account. And then what happens? You beat yourself up. Because you're going to look at the trades and say, why the hell did I even do that? There was nothing in the market. Why did I buy that? There was no fair value gap. There was no order block. It didn't even take sell-side liquidity. What the fuck was I doing? You're chasing the emotional charges that you put behind that decision. You completely abandon all reasoning and why you even are trading. You're not the only one that's done that. Everybody does that. Everybody does it. Why? Why is it so hard? Because you're competing with yourself. You have to live with yourself. You have to wake up in your own skin tomorrow and the day after. And the decisions that you make today and yesterday and what you'll make tomorrow come with consequences. And see, you want consequences to be sugar-coated, almost orgasmic in trading. You want them to be happy endings. Not to sound crude, but that's what you really want. You want a chance meeting with a stranger and a knock on your bedpost. That's what you want. You want every night to be a one-night stand and it's all good, feel-good moments. I'm sorry, sometimes you're going to wake up next to a hand grenade, and that's just the way it is. And you are going to hurt yourself. But you got to say, look, you know what? I got pip drunk. I made some poor decisions. Thankfully, I'm not married to this person. And just slip out before they wake up. And just live on, you know, continue to trade and try not to do that same thing again. This goes for both the ladies and the men. You know what I'm talking about. Somebody just whispered, I just did that this weekend. How's he know? I'm watching. I got my eyes on you. But the reason why it's so difficult trading is because you're competing against a fucking savage in the making. You are such a formidable adversary that you alone are the one that's holding yourself back. Nobody else is holding you back. these yahoos on the internet that say what you're trying to learn doesn't work on, that didn't stop you. People commenting saying, oh, well, you know, you're doing this and you're doing that. This is the real way of doing it. That doesn't motivate you to go chase that stuff. You're sticking to this. But you're the adversary. If you take the energy that you place in worrying about stupid shit and people that don't matter, and you apply it to yourself and how you can build yourself up so that way you can be useful to yourself and your friends and family that are worth being around. Yes, I said that, because there are family members that you shouldn't have in your small circle. And when I cut those out of my life too, man, happiness. Because I'm gonna tell you something. When you start making lots of money, your fucking family does not like that. They don't like that. They're gonna look at you and say, you know what? This motherfucker here. You know, I never noticed this bitch has an ego problem. Look at him. He's buying these cars. Now, I didn't drive my car over to their house. I didn't say, this is how much I paid for my car. They just found out I bought these cars. This motherfucker, look at him. Now, these are my family. I'm a young guy. I'm trying to do what makes me happy as a young man. And I had family members literally get a case of the ass because I was enjoying what I was able to do. Your friends, don't be surprised if they don't like the fact that you're successful. And they're going to be spiteful because they are too fucking lazy to do the same things that you're willing to give yourself a chance to work and grind through. Success is not something that falls in your lap. You got to work for it. And that means that you got to take your attention away from stupid, silly shit and stupid, silly people and apply it to hard work and be diligent about it and show up every day. And when you do that, results will come. And you're going to find out who your real friends and family are. Because the ones that really love you, they're going to say, you know what? If anybody was going to do it, it was going to be you. And I'm so proud. Look what you've been able to accomplish. That's amazing. Can you show me what you did? Not, look at you, motherfucker. You think you're better than me? Hey, if you got all that money, why don't you give me some? I heard more of the latter than the first. Why the fuck are you going to let people that are not successful tell you how to live your life and give you advice? Or if they tell you something, why are you allowing that to drain you or make you doubt what you're doing this for? If they're not better than you are in success, have more than you, earn more than you, and able to do what you're doing right now better than you, their fucking opinion doesn't matter. Love them from a distance. That's what I did. I didn't disown them. I just simply did not invite them into the conversation of my personal life, how I should live it, and what I should do with my personal wealth, period. You didn't help me. You didn't encourage me to make this fucking money. You sure as fuck are not entitled to tell me how to spend it. Now, out of context, that would sound like, damn, this guy's arrogant. No. I'm being real. If you were in my situation, that's how you would think about it too. Whose business is being ran here? Mine. Nobody runs my business. You didn't build it. You didn't take the risks to grow it. You weren't there to console me when I was blowing my accounts. You weren't there to encourage me to say, hey, keep going. None of that was seen by my family members. None of my friends did that either. And you're going to experience the same fucking thing. And guess what? Relish in it. Because when you get it and you arrive here, you got there on your own. None of your fucking friends and your fucking family members can say, we did this for you. We helped you. No, you didn't. You did not do any of that shit. I had to persevere just like you are. And let me tell you something. You can call this arrogance, you can call this ego, you can call it pride, whatever the fuck you want to call it, okay? I call it conquering demons. Because I had every night whispers and doubts coming in my head all the time. What if I really can't do this? What if I can't? What if I fail? What if I have to work the rest of my fucking life? I had to go to bed thinking about that shit. You know what I go to bed thinking about now? Man, I didn't have to do this today. Man, I didn't have to do that today. I look around, I see everybody else flipping out, driving around, losing their fucking mind. Traffic. I don't have to go through that. I don't have to go through that. I'm 50 years old. I don't have those cares in the world. And I want all of you to have that. I want you to have that. That's not privilege. Let me tell you something. I had to work my fucking ass off for this. I had to work. I had to work to make this work for me. It's normal. That part is normal. All this is you show up, you put the work in, learn. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be fucking hard because you're wrestling yourself. But once you finally get past yourself and get out of your own fucking way, then you'll really start to learn. And you'll see that you've made it much more harder than it needs to be. Because it's all basically psychological. You're afraid of losing money. You're afraid of being wrong. You're afraid of failing. You're afraid of your fucking spouse or your coworkers or your family members, your friends, to say, I told you it wasn't going to work. It's all a pipe dream. And some of you, deep down inside, listen, folks, listen. It's going to get so hard that you're going to actually create the environment for that to happen. So that way it's ending all the pain. That short little momentary embarrassment around your family and friends, your coworkers. Yeah, I lost my fucking money. And you're right. It's fucking bullshit. Nobody's making money. It's all fucking fraud. It's a scam. It's all horseshit. Because you don't want to endure. It's hard wrestling with that feeling of, what would they think of me if I fail? Fuck that. Why are you even entertaining that shit? Listen. Failure is a fucking choice. That's not a guarantee. Failure is a fucking choice. Setbacks, speed bumps, adversities, that's all part of this, like anything else. Anything worth doing is going to be fucking hard. It's going to cost money. It's going to cost time. It's going to cause you to have to put more effort into this than you ever think, anything you've ever done. Weak people don't survive in this industry. Unorganized, undisciplined, irresponsible motherfuckers do not stay in this business. You have to be an adult that is an independent thinker that understands there's real risk in this shit. You could lose your ass. And when you have this skill set, you're going to feel exactly what I feel. And some of you that are weaker and younger, you're going to do the same shit I did when I was 20-something years old. I was the biggest prick there ever was. And you can hear it sometimes. It's still in me. That young man still likes to raise his head up once in a while. But the old man in me just to remind his ass sit the heck down. But that humanity in me is still there. But you're going to feel what it feels like to know what you know. And nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can make you forget about it. They can't discount it. They can't say it doesn't work. Who gives a fuck how many people are going to doubt you? Listen, you start making $50,000 a fucking month. How many people will it take for you to be convinced that what you're doing is bullshit? How many people will it take for you to be convinced that you making over 6 figures every 6 fucking months consistently? How many people will it take for them to convince you that what you're doing is a waste of your fucking time? How many people does it take you to do that? There ain't enough. There ain't enough. And you're going to understand you're bulletproof. Who gives a fuck who likes you and doesn't like you? Who cares? Is it going to change how you sleep, where you sleep, how you eat, how you raise your children? No. What you do with your money is your fucking business. You don't owe anybody an explanation what the fuck you're going to do with your money. None. But they're all going to tell you what you should be doing with it. What you should have done with it. So don't even invite them into the conversation. You got to keep those types of people, which is the public, the social media fucking clowns. They're all going to pretend they know something better, and they ain't bringing shit to the discussion. To let them influence anything in your development is stupid. When I was a 20-year-old, knowing this stuff makes you feel immortal.